I need to hear the. Hey, our names are Kiriti, Kishan, Aditya, and Abhinay, and the purpose of this presentation is to inform you about the critical topic of the United States military draft. The draft has been subject to many controversies and changes since its introduction.
The powers of Congress that allow the draft are in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12. It includes the power to provide for the common defense, declare war, raise and support an army and navy, make rules and regulations for the military, and purchase land for military bases.
Conscription or active drafting for the military has not been present since 1973, ending after the Vietnam War was resolved with the Paris Peace Accords. It shifted to an all-volunteer basis. However, all male U.S. citizens from ages 18 to 25 have to register under the Selective Service System and serve time in the event of any danger. Women can also register, but is not required for them.
Most of our national draft legislation has come from the Selective Services Act. Originally, Congress first passed the Selective Services Act in 1917, which authorized the draft during World War I. This act has since undergone many changes regarding the war situations we've had and is currently the reason for the most complaints.
The most important executive order regarding the military draft is from President Biden, saying that all Americans, regardless of their gender identity, should register for military service. This was signed on January 25th, 2021, and for the reasons that women and transgender people do not hinder the military.
The most important court case on the draft is Butler v. Perry in 1916, when a man named Butler was sentenced to 30 days in prison for the fact that he refused to work on a public road. He argued it was involuntary servitude. It was determined not to be involuntary servitude. This is brought up in cases concerning the draft today, as it influences the idea of whether or not the military draft is in fact involuntary servitude.
Similar to the US's opinion, the public also doesn't believe in the need for the draft. Fewer than 1 in 4 Americans are in favor of the military draft. Recently, when it comes to drafting women, 63% of Americans supported drafting women, and now President Biden has sided with the public and agreed that people, regardless of gender, can get drafted.
Unlike the US, in India, there has never been a draft, and joining the military is strictly voluntary. At the same time, their military is still very big, with its size actually bigger than the US. In their system, both men and women are allowed to and encouraged to join the military. It is also much more inclusive, with women in the military having a big impact and more important roles in the Air Force, Navy, and the Army.
One failure of this issue can be seen in Russia, in the Ukraine war, where men and women cannot avoid being drafted on a mandatory basis. Draftees are banned from leaving the country, and if they don't show up to a recruitment office, they will get restrictions related to their banking, selling property, and even gaining access to a driver's license. In some cases, they could even face time in prison.
One of the biggest groups that support the draft and the military in general is the VFW, or the Veterans of Foreign War. This organization is pro-selective service and believes in mandatory national service. They have a big voice and have provided lots of support for veterans, as well as over $5 million to various causes and organizations.
The Military Law Task Force and National Lawyers Guild are working together to end the military draft, such as removing the military recruiters from low-income schools. They want to remove the selective service system for good and help the public realize their rights. This is for the reason that the draft is used for immoral wars, like the last war with Indochina.
Since military drafting doesn't consider where you live, states can't do anything to change the draft. However, most states have different opinions on the matter. Conservative states, such as Mississippi, believe in the ending of the military draft, which is mandatory conscription. This is for the reason that every man or woman has the fundamental right to live their own life.
On the other hand, liberal states such as Washington believe in the constitution of the military draft, but want to change it so that even women and transgender people can be conscripted. This is for the reason that everyone is made equal, so their sacrifice for their country should also be equal. They believe that every sacrifice is justified in the name of society.
Back in the 80s, Kenneth Quinn, a relatively unknown politician, proposed a very interesting solution to the draft. He proposed that after their 18th birthday, men and women would have to fill out a form if they want to be eligible for the draft. He said this would still give selective service the option to draft the people to say no if absolutely necessary, and at the same time allow women to get drafted if they wanted to.
We believe the military draft system could change a lot in the next few years. One thing for certain is that the world will get accustomed to transgender people and gender identity, and they will be treated equally everywhere, including the military. As for women, the world will treat them equally. Mandatory conscription, however, will depend on the state of the world in 5 years, because if there are wars threatening the safety of the US, they will conscript.